We have Thirsty Bear on the front, just completely controlling things at 34, 35 miles an hour. The Devo rider wants me to follow him to the right, but that doesn't look good. That looks congested. I'm going to go to the left. I come slingshotting out of the draft, carrying all of my speed. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to another edition of Alviso. This is our weekly practice Criterium here in San Jose. And as you can imagine, it has a lot of local teams like San Jose Bike Club, Team Thirsty Bear, of course, Team Thirsty Bear, my nemesis. And I'm on Team Mike's Bikes, but I am racing solo. No teammates for me. And same goes for my buddy Matt on Tyrone Elite. No teammates for him. There's plenty of other hitters. You guys remember Max from the last video. Recent winner of Alviso. Ton of other guys, too many to mention. We had some wind on course. You can see the direction by those little blue arrows in the bottom right-hand corner. Played a factor in today's race for sure. And with that said, let's get into today's race. Okay, couple laps in, and we're going to start things off pretty soon here. You see a slowdown on front. What does that mean? That means the counterattacks are coming. So there goes Blaine from Thirsty Bear. There goes Matt. And now here goes Max. Now, if there's something to follow, you guys, and there's something to pour 1,300 watts into, it's this one for sure. Basically, all the guys I mentioned off the top are represented here. Cannot let this one go. If those three guys get up the road, I'm not part of it. Can't sleep on that. That would be race over. So follow this, but everyone wants to follow this, right? So immediately gets pulled back, no separation, especially early on in the race like this. Everyone's pretty fresh. Nobody wants to break away to get away. So we all kind of sit up, and then, yeah, you guessed it, another one goes. And this is Brian. This is a threatening move, but hey, with almost 19 kilometers to go, still a lot of racing left, no Thirsty Bear representation. That one's fine. I'm going to let that one go. I'm not going to let Jerome sneak across like he's trying right now. So I do a bit of power here just to make sure that doesn't happen. But otherwise, I'm trying to lean on these other riders, especially the teams like San Jose, like Thirsty Bear, who have more of an obligation to bring that back. Even when Matt goes right here, like still, Matt's a very strong rider. Brian's a very strong rider. I am still going to be patient here. I think it's easy for people to get lost in this moment. Early on in the race, you feel fresh. And you're like, yeah, I'm just going to chase everything back. But that's short-sighted. And by the end of the race, you'll be absolutely dying, and you won't be able to win. So I'm patient. You see, I'm just letting Thirsty Bear kind of fill in those gaps. And I am not going to be doing any chasing on the front until there's a really good reason for me to do that. And even now, with Max, and then it looks like two others rolling off the front, still, I'm chilling. I'm looking at Jerome on the front right now. He's looking back at me. I'm not going to chase. I'm going to let Thirsty Bear do this. And so I kind of forced Jerome's hand right there. He saw he had to close it down. And look who we have in the rear cam. That's right, Blaine. And I know that Blaine's pretty hungry to get across to that front group. So sure enough, there goes Blaine. And he times it really well because you noticed I was a bit boxed in. And look at the delay, right? That was like 5, 6, 7 seconds before I'm able to kind of get out and do this effort. And as a result, there's this gap, and Blaine's strong. And Blaine knows that I am chasing now, so it's off to the races. This is not a particularly good situation for me because there's already, 3 riders off the front, and once Blaine gets across, like, you have to think, who's back in the field who is motivated to chase that back, who is going to execute a chase back? Well, a lot of that burden is going to be on me because a lot of the major guys and the major teams are already represented up the road. So fortunately, I have this rider who came with me, who I'm going to coax a pull out of right now, and he does help me get across to this group, and this is looking pretty good now. So I get there, but Matt is not particularly happy about that. You see him looking back right now, and he is not going to let me rest. So I don't even get to sit in the drop for more than a couple of seconds, and there he goes. But little does Matt know, maybe he's forgotten, I am stubborn, and I find some more power right here. So now we have a gap. We've all committed energy to establishing this gap, and I want to keep this train rolling. Like, I don't want to just sit up and play these games where we're attacking each other. This is not a good way to race. I just want to keep rolling turns. We have some of the strongest guys in this race up in this front group. This has the potential to be a successful breakaway, so I don't really want to sit up like they're trying right now. I mean, Blaine has a teammate behind with Jerome, who I know isn't chasing, who's going to be fresh. So Blaine doesn't really want to keep this rolling, but I figure Brian in my rear camera right now, Matt, and especially me, we all are interested in keeping this fast, keeping this smooth, and preserving our gap off the front. But it doesn't work. It's not good enough. We get caught. And I find this little opportunity right here. Blaine ended up off the front with this other kind of dysfunctional group of 5. And right as soon as they're brought back, we're going almost 30 miles an hour here into the headwind. And these front riders are slowing down. I'm just going to preserve all of my speed Now it's turning into this crosswind, so the timing of this is just perfect. I'm going to go into the right side of the road here, into the gutter, we say, and this way the wind is going from my left to my right, and it's really hard for people to get a draft when I do this. So really that effort right there, everyone has to match that effort if they want to stay in my wheel. And the good news is only Brian is able to follow, and this is great because Brian's a fantastic breakaway rider. He quickly falls into rotation like you can see, and we commit to this thing. And without Thirsty Bear, without Matt, this is all great news because I know they're going to be pretty desperate to chase behind if Brian and I are off the front like this. Ends up not working out. We get chased back, but that's totally fine. It forced my competition to do some serious chasing, and more often than not, being in a smoothly rotating breakaway is actually more efficient than being in like a really surgy, disorganized chase group. Anybody who's been in that situation probably knows what I'm talking about. And actually, I recently made a video about how consistent riding is actually more efficient. But anyway, we're on the last lap here. Group is all together. I am way too close to the front. I don't like my position right here. Blaine's just pulling off on my left here. He's from Thirsty Bear. He's probably going to fall back and help his sprinter, Jerome. We have Max taking a pole on the front right now. As long as Max is keeping it fast right here, I will continue to be third wheel. But eventually I need to think about falling back a few spots because still with 1,600 meters to go, I do not want to be close to the front like this. You know, Alviso, this late in an Alviso race, there usually isn't much control. There's no teams controlling things like you'll see in like a bigger P12 race or some of the bigger national level races we do. I take a pole here just because it was in that crosswind section I talked about earlier. There's really no consequence to that, but now I'm going to pull off to the side. I don't want to be pulling in the headwind on the front. I'm going to do 100 watts, and that's when the attacks start going. So now I am thinking about my position with respect to the sprint finish, and I slot in right here at about, what is that, 7th wheel with 1,100 meters to go. This is the right position that I want to be in. That was calculated. I wanted to fall back a number of riders. I don't want to fall back to the back of the group at this point in the race. That would be a mistake, but I couldn't just continue riding on the front and just leading everybody out. So now we're inside of 1K. It's go time. And I see Matt, probably the other big field sprinter in this group in the pink jersey. He's falling back. He's probably thinking the same thing as me. I'm looking at him in the rear cam. Yeah, he's about 2 riders behind me. He's probably thinking, you know, about 7th, 8th wheel is the right place to be at this point in the race. And it's not particularly fast. 29 miles an hour is not slow. But I notice right here that Thirsty Bear is now organized on the front, so it's time to move up. 7th or 8th isn't good enough anymore. I need to move up a few more spots because I don't want to get left behind. And at this speed, I want to make sure I'm sheltered while I'm doing that. So I pass on the right side, which is the left to right wind makes that the sheltered side of the road. Now we're looking pretty. This is what, 5th wheel with 500 meters to go. Guys, about 100 meters per rider in the lead out is a good rule of thumb. So I'm liking my position now until this Mike's Devo rider starts to let a gap open up. And I'm yelling at him to stay on it. I just want to make sure he closes that gap at 32 miles an hour. I do not want to get out into the wind until I'm actually starting my sprint. We have Thirsty Bear on the front just completely controlling things at 34, 35 miles an hour. The Devo rider wants me to follow him to the right, but that doesn't look good. That looks congested. I'm going to go to the left. I come slingshotting out of the draft, carrying all of my speed, even use a little bit of the Thirsty Bear lead out. And thanks to some good timing and energy saved throughout the race, I was able to put my head down and bam! Lock down another Alviso win. Whew! I'm out of breath, you guys. Thanks for hanging in there. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you guys like this content, and catch you guys in the next one.